Hello, I'm Dr. Chadhawk, and I'm sharing testimonials from the last 20 years in practice. And this next testimonial is absurd. This next testimonial is the most audacious one. This next testimonial, 90% of the people who listen to it will never believe this happened. This next testimonial goes beyond anything I can ever explain. I don't know how it happened other than God stepping in and doing a miracle in her life. So this was on my very first trip to Ghana. There was a lady who was carried in a blanket. It's often how they would transport people who could not stand and walk on their own. She was brought in and she was put, I was staying at the chief's house, Reverend Garty's house in Winneba. And they bring her in and they put her down and she's curled up into a little ball. They tell me she's in her 20s. I don't know exactly how old, and that she has AIDS. And I began to check her out and see what's going on. And she's got, her respirations are almost gone. There's virtually nothing there. And as I'm checking her, I'm absolutely overwhelmed at how bad she is. She's dying. She really is. Her mouth is full of fungal infection. She can't talk. She hasn't eaten in days. She's barely clinging to life. And I look at them and I say, I'll do what I can. I can adjust her. But please don't expect anything dramatic to happen. Maybe it'll bring her some ease. And I adjust her. And they pick her up and they carry her away. And I didn't think much of it other than that night when I was going to sleep. I just prayed for her. I said, Lord, please, may she know you. May she be at peace. May her body not hurt. May she be free. Next day, I'm adjusting and everybody's showing up at the chief's house for their adjustment. And there's a line and this lady shows up and she's talking to me in Fanti. And at this point, I don't hardly know any Fanti. So I couldn't understand what she was saying. And a number of ladies gather around her and they're talking with her as she's trying to explain to me, and some are trying to translate, and it's kind of chaotic because it's all happening at the same time, and I'm overwhelmed, frankly. And they're talking about a lady who had AIDS, and I remembered her clearly from the other day. And they keep going on and on and on. And the lady they take her over to the table. They cut in front of the line of people. They take her to the table. They push her down on the table. Ghana's a very physical country. They push her down on the table and they grab me and they tell me to adjust her. So I adjust her and they get up. She gets up and she's crying. She's happy. And she gives me a big hug. And then the ladies all are happy. And I'm not tracking what's going on. And they leave, they go down the stairs and they're gone. And one of the ladies who had been waiting in line, who had been helping, she goes, "Isn't that wonderful?" I said, "No, I don't understand what just happened here. I don't know who that lady was. I don't know what's going on. Can you just tell me?" And she goes, "Well, she has AIDS." And I thought, oh, another AIDS patient. While they're not very common in Ghana, they do happen. And she goes, No. That was the lady that you took care of yesterday. And at this point, I said, no, that's not possible. That isn't possible at all. The lady I took care of yesterday was dying. She weighed about 90 pounds and she was barely clinging to life. And this lady walks in. She looks pretty normal, pretty healthy, and fine. And she goes, "No, that was the lady. I know her. I've known her whole life. That was her." And I did not believe it. I could not believe it. Even though what I just saw did not register with what I knew to be true based on my education, my experience, the way physiology, the way pathology works. It doesn't happen this way. So I had to put it on a mental pause button because I had so many other people to take care of. I couldn't respond properly at the time. So I finish up that day and I tell Reverend Garty, the chief, about it that night. And he goes, "Oh, I know exactly who that lady is. We'll go see her tomorrow. But I don't think she'll be alive because she's almost dead." And I said, "Yeah, I agree. I agree." So the next day comes, and before we get going, with all the adjusting, he drives me over to where he knows she lives. And we go in, and the whole family is there. There's probably 50 people. So there's all these extended family members, and everybody's happy. They're just so excited. And he starts talking with them in Fanti, and I don't know what he's saying. I'm just kind of standing there. I can just tell that he's overwhelmed with what's going on. And I'm thinking, okay, what's the deal? Tell me the story. I get that you're learning information, but I need to know what's going on as well. And he finishes speaking with them. He turns to me, he goes, "She's healed. She's right there." And I look at her, and she's just beaming. And I said, "This can't be true. We need to take her to her medical doctor. I want to have an AIDS test done, an HIV test." And he says, "Okay, we'll go." So we get her in the car and we go, and she's got a family member with her, and we go to the local medical doctor who I got to know. He was a great guy. And he comes in, he goes, "What can I do for you, Dr. Hawk?" I said, "Well, this lady says that she had AIDS a few days ago and was dying, HIV positive, and I saw her. It doesn't look like the same woman to me." And this is what he did. He heard my story, and he turned and he looked at her and he went, "This can't be," because he knew her. He was there. He'd known her entire life. He knew her story. He had been caring for her as she was dying. And he looks, and all of a sudden, his view of who she was didn't conform to what he was seeing. He was seeing a healed, restored, normal woman, not the dying person that he knew. And he says, "This doesn't make sense." He's doing the same thing I'm doing. He goes, "This doesn't make sense. Let's do a test." And so he went, he had the nurse go get tests, and they're doing these tests, and comes up negative. There's no evidence of HIV infection. And he says, "This can't be." So he goes, "We need to go to the hospital." So now there's the relative, Reverend Garty, the chief, the doctor, the lady, and her family member, and me. And we all pile in this vehicle, and we're going to the hospital. Go to the hospital. He runs in, and he explains everything. And he's talking to the doctor who's in charge of the hospital. And the doctor's saying, no, that can't be true. So they do 3 more tests there at the hospital. Everything comes back negative. And why? I don't know. And I don't have to know. I just know that lady is still alive today. At least she was last time when I was in Winneba. Absolutely no evidence of AIDS, no HIV, perfectly healthy, fine, and she is full of life. She's now married. She has kids. Kids are totally healthy. That happened in 2007, and so 11 years later, still the case. I don't know how that happens. It wasn't the adjustment. It was a miracle. And I've seen it happen, and that's why I wanted to share it. So it's preposterous. It's audacious. I can't explain it, but it happened, and it blew everyone who experienced it away. And I guarantee you this, it radically transformed her life. This is Dr. Chad Hawk. Thank you so much for listening.